ThatGreatBusinessShow.com is brought to you by De Facto Shaving Oil, the best anyone can get. Made in Ireland, sold worldwide.
Welcome to That Great Business Show, Ireland's best business podcast. I am your host, Conall Morain. This is episode 41, or Time for Fun, as the bingo callers prefer to say. We're posting this on the 2nd of July 2021. On episode 41, we have new research about whether or not we're going to spend all our savings, the famous wall of money, on a post-COVID party. We have a Meath company that'll make your eco-conscience clearer after drinking from plastic bottles. We have the All-Star Clare Business Person of the Year, even though he's from Kerry and lives in Limerick. And if your business is in any way doing any kind of research and development, and it's a very wide field, stay tuned to hear about tax credits you may not even know exist. As always, That Great Business Show is here to back great businesses. We can only do that thanks to our great backer, defactoshave.com, the world's best shaving oil. Please back them by buying their fab product online or in pharmacies. If you love business and if you love how we do business, please do tell your pals in business to listen to That Great Business Show and to follow us on our LinkedIn page, where you can find out more about the show. Plus, we give followers a sneak peek of what's coming up in future shows.
Backing great women-led businesses on every show. That Great Business Show.
Absolutely every business has to guess what tomorrow may bring. And given COVID, that guessing game has taken on more uncertainty than usual. As a country, we've been saving vast amounts of money during lockdown. In its most recent missive, the central bank has said that despite lockdown beginning to ease, that the Irish public continued to save, squirreling away close to another €600 million, bringing the 12-month total to a massive €14 billion of savings, which prompts the big question. What's going to happen to all of that money? Serious economists, always fond of the pithy phrase, love to say that a wall of money is about to hit the economy. But as always, we like to find a contrarian view. So it's my great pleasure to welcome Jill Holtz of ParentsandBrands to the show. ParentsandBrands work to get insights from parents about brands so as to help them connect, build trust, and hopefully grow those businesses. Welcome to That Great Business Show, Jill Holtz.
Thanks, Conall. Thanks for having me.
You are a party pooper.
I'm afraid that the research we've done with parents does show a contrarian view to that kind of current feeling that there's going to be the roaring 20s and this big splurge. We did a big insights project with parents and we asked them to imagine life after COVID, hard as that may be, and they came back, and of the ones who have managed to save, so by the way, that was 75% of families who answered our survey, which was 823 people, just for the numbers there.
That's a good number.
Yeah. And of those, they said they're going to hang on. Only 4% of those said they were going to blow their savings, and the rest of those 75%, so no, we're sticking with our savings. For a few reasons, I think parents always have expenses. As we know, it's an expensive business bringing up kids. When you're facing into things like college years, particularly, that's some unnecessary expense that they're looking forward to, if I can say that. And then other people articulated that they were saving for the rainy day, that having kind of managed to save some money finally, maybe due to lower commuting costs from working at home or lack of childcare costs, they've managed to put some money by and they want to now have that as backup. A few people said if they were going to spend, there were kind of three main things that they would spend on, which was a family holiday with extended family.
That is a splurge.
Yes, a mini splurge. So they were going to say, I'm going to spend a little bit and then I'll hold on to the rest. They were also going to do up their home and garden.
That is a splurge.
A tiny splurge. And
not when you're doing any kind of building, I can tell you.
Yeah, and a little bit more on the home improvements and celebrations were the kind of key things if they were going to spend any of that hard-won money.
So that's two splurges. So it's not true. They're not going to save it. And you know, when you start into that, actually I was just thinking about it this morning, You know the way when you're in a shop, when you make the first purchase or you picked up the first item, you know you're in. You're going to do more.
Well, that was another interesting thing that parents said, was that the time of reflection and being away from the shops, particularly maybe at lunchtime during kind of a work environment and popping out to the shops, that there was quite a lot of feedback about what can we call it, more conscious consumerism, that they had realised they don't necessarily need to buy as much. They've been perfectly happy. The kids have been happy doing kind of what we would probably call ourselves old-fashioned activities, board games, movie nights, without spending a fortune on entertainment and shopping. So I think that's the other thing. And that kind of coincides with another piece of research we did in January, which was around views on climate change and sustainability, and where were people's heads at about that. Again, we see a sort of a shift towards, I wouldn't say people are there yet, but they're definitely wanting to move to be more sustainable. And perhaps that tied with the lack of shopping opportunities over the last while. And don't forget as well, Conall, that buying for kids, particularly clothes and shoes, has been tricky. So they've had a kind of a tricky time with online shopping. That was another thing that came out of the survey. So they are looking back forward when they can to go back to the shops in a reserved manner. They were saying, they don't want to go when it's crowded. It's always tricky shopping with kids, yourself. So whatever shops can do, I think there was quite a few comments about they'd like to see the appointment system, that they brought in when the retail reopened, that maybe that was an opportunity to continue that. And I think,
really?
Yeah, so I think as well,
now,
businesses could think about...
Did that break down in gender by any chance? Can you remember?
So most of our respondents are female. That's who connects with our website where we do the collection of the data.
Let me tell you from my... And you obviously, being in your business, you will say, one person does not make any sense at all. This person doesn't want to make any appointment with anybody. This person doesn't actually want to go into a shop, ideally. When I do, in and
out, yeah. And I actually don't think that you're unique there. I think that's what everyone is probably... Again, that comes back to that thoughtful purchasing, kind of having a list, knowing what you need, going in and out. Because we can't try clothes on just now, we're going to have to take them home anyway. So the whole shopping experience has changed. But I suppose it's to think about opportunities from a retailer perspective of how can you attract families back in? How can you make it as easy for them to transact with you, to be able to return things if they don't fit the kids, for example. Kids sizing online can be very tricky. It's not quite as standardised as, say, women's and men's clothes. So I have a lot of sympathy for the comments that came into us about, having to return things constantly making trips to the post office to do the returns this year.
And I know I often cite it as well, is one of the catalogue companies online, obviously nowadays, they have 800 people working on shoe returns in the north of England only.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, that's the size of a town.
Yeah.
Just on shoe returns. Now, let us go back one step to give your creds, as in to why you know so much about this. Once upon a time, when you were in Scotland, you were a mathematician.
That's right. I studied mathematics at university. I just loved it at school, and I thought I couldn't think of what I wanted to do with my life, honestly. I wasn't one of those very organised people who said I want to be a lawyer or a doctor. So I just thought, well, I'll do what I enjoy. And I studied at Glasgow, and then I did a master's in operational research. So I've kind of got a data background, I suppose, and all the roles that I've worked in over the number of years have been kind of interesting from an analytics or a data perspective. And how do you support business decisions with that? So I suppose it's kind of a natural evolution where I've come to with ParentsandBrands, which we launched last year from our parent company, which is My Kids Time. If anyone's familiar with that, that's a website for parents that we've had for 14 years, Conall, which is not bad going in online terms.
It certainly is not. That's one of the early ones, actually, if you want to put it that way. And I gave a little précis off your website of what ParentsandBrands do or does. Who do you work with, and what are your insights?
So we do our own projects with parents where twice a month we might ask them about an aspect of family life. Now that could be anything like food shopping, as I mentioned, like climate change, sustainability, or post-COVID family life. Or it might be about your views on insurance. We've got one coming up on life pensions and investments, because one of the things that came out of that big post-COVID family survey was we asked them if they thought anything would change. And a lot of people said, yeah, kind of need to take out life cover, maybe hadn't kind of thought of it as a real priority. Oh yeah, we've had a past piece that we did, and surprisingly, I think it was something like 30% of parents have no life cover, which is quite surprising. So we want to do a deeper dive into that. So we do those things ourselves, and that's kind of interesting to us, and we can talk lots of interesting facts then about what parents are saying. And then we do projects for a variety of companies that could be big. We've done things for electricity, for example, or Eason, looking at retail or website content, or if we have done projects for early stage companies, for a financial services company who's interestingly enough looking at the savings market. We've just finished that one. So there's lots of variety of projects. And what we do there is we tailor the panel each time. So whatever those requirements are, we can go out to our community of parents that connect with us and say, hey, we're looking for parents of this ilk. Would you come? And we don't remunerate our panelists. We want them to give feedback because they genuinely want to talk to the brand through us, have a conversation. And it's really interesting. It's so interesting to understand what drives parents, what gets them going, what activates them, what they love, what they hate. Fascinating, I tell you.
And you do the data analysis, I presume, and out of that you will pass learnings on to your clients, your paying clients, correct?
Exactly. Now, we're not market researchers. We don't come from the background. We've come very much from a marketing and brand and communications perspective. So it's about looking at the decision that the brand needs to make or the business. Go talk to that panel of parents, get those deep insights, and then we will do analysis and come back with recommendations that are actionable, because that's another thing. A lot of market research gets done, and what happens to that report? It sits on a shelf, and that's no good either, especially when you're spending money as a business to get insights. You want insights that you can actually take some action on.
Now, you don't have to name the brand or the company, but give me an idea of one that you, a business that you worked for and that you got fantastic insights and you went, whoa, and they went even better. They went, whoa, whoa.
Well, one project we did was looking at a particular category on a retail website, and when we talked to the parents about that category, they discovered that the age group that they had on the website was just far too wide, and parents were pointing out that, for example, a 5-year-old is quite different from an 8-year-old. And so they needed to narrow the categorization of products much, much more closely. And also in terms of what the child was interested in, this came out of this particular category. I think the other interesting thing for us was, even though we were asking parents about that one area of category and how they bought it, where they bought it, what actually ended up coming out was a real opportunity for this Irish brand to emphasise their Irishness, which again, parents really want to support. I mean, everybody wants to support now out of COVID, but also the fact that they were doing so much better than their competitor, who was one of the go-tos in terms of delivery. So we said that's a very simple communication message that actually you can get the product to them really quickly.
Now, you have, being the party pooper, thrown a very wet blanket on all of this money that was meant to have been spent. We like being positive on that great business show. So you're going to tell me and tell the listeners how we can squeeze that cash out of the savers.
So if you think about what everybody has been looking forward to coming out of COVID is getting together with family and friends. So what are people going to do? They're probably going to entertain at home for the while, because unfortunately we all know what's happened with indoor dining. So what does that present? If you're in anything to do with retail or food or drink, where are the opportunities to help families and parents do those get-togethers at home? Home delivery of bundles. Look, during the lockdown, lots of restaurants and businesses were very innovative, weren't they, with the home delivery? I'm even fortunate. I live in Oranmore in Galway, where we have Manna aero drone delivery, which is fabulous. So there's lots of businesses in the village who actually can deliver by drone.
Have you had a meal delivered by a drone?
I have had a meal delivered by drone. I have had Thai food and Indian food delivered by drone. The most exciting thing.
I have never met Bobby Healy. I know a lot about him, and I follow him on Twitter a lot. Tell me, what was the experience when you phoned? You just phone up your usual order, you meet
it's all
two
online,
number 24s. Yeah, okay.
All online, so really good user experience. They now have an app. It wasn't a website. You put in your air code, picked what you want to buy.
Get that air code. It's a different idea now. AIR, not EIR.
Yeah.
Or the drone. Sorry,
air code, yeah.
That's just me being stupid.
Drone code. So you put your code in and picked your items, paid, and you got a delivery time, picked your delivery time, and they would then send the drone out, and it comes down, hovers above your house and drops down the package.
Now, hang on a second. This is the bit I find interesting. It goes, and then, it doesn't drop it.
No. So what happens is a kind of a door opens at the bottom of the drone and it lowers down on a string, and then it lets the string go to the ground after the package is at the bottom.
When it's on the ground.
When it's on the ground.
So it doesn't actually smush your stuff.
No, it doesn't smush your stuff, no.
Okay. What happens if you're in the third floor of a 6-story apartment?
I think they only do ground floor delivery, so I'm going to have to come down for it.
Okay.
But my point here is there are lots of innovative ways. I know, you're fine. My point here was about the fact that all of these businesses were thinking of new ways that they could get product to customer during the lockdown. So it's about, I think, being creative and really good at communicating what is of value to parents now. That's what businesses need to do to get them to spend that.
And tell me something really clever that they could do. Like if there are 10 companies very similar and they all say, yeah, we'll be creative and understanding of parents, what's the top tip? We love top tips.
Top tip. Okay, you're pushing me here. I think that if I was, again, it depends on the type of business, but if I'm in the kind of food and drink or retail, I would put bundles of things together so that you could order online, order through an app, even get drone delivery, where you would get your party pack. Can you imagine? Your food, your drink, your napkins, everything sorted in and out of the store. What are we all about now? Click and collect. Let's go in and out. You said it yourself earlier. I want to go in and out. So let's expedite that by pick and mix on bundles, party bundles. Let's make it really easy to plan that party and celebration at home, which I think is the way things are going to go for a while, that home celebration outdoors.
I'm looking forward to seeing the bottles coming out of the sky.
I know, dropping to the ground.
That is many people's dream, Any other ideas, any other suggestions as to businesses people should be looking forward to in the future?
Well, I think, again, looking at what parents buy and when they buy is kind of different sometimes from maybe other segments, which would be the younger without kids or the older who the kids have moved on. So there's very seasonal things that parents think about and plan for. Communions is an obvious one. Back to school is another obvious one. Christmas, obviously, everybody does. So it's about identifying those opportunities and planning for those. So I don't think that there's any unique business that's going to fulfill this or some kind of innovation. It's more about thinking in the mind of a mom. When is she going to be planning and communicating to her at that time, not at back to school time. It's too late. She's done her planning by then.
Months before.
So it's actually about thinking ahead and communicating really well and articulating of course, everyone wants to know the benefits and features of a product or service, but what are those little extras that you do for mums and dads? How can you make their life easier? Then you're on to a winner. And
best way to communicate with them is through?
Multi-channel.
Okay.
There's no and answer. Consistently. Website, email, social media. Oh, you should be saying the same thing on all your channels.
Traditional? Would you go traditional media?
Yeah, I think people still listen to the radio. The biggest difficulty you have if you're a mum with kids in the car and you're driving and you're distracted by them and you suddenly hear something on the radio is trying to find what that name was again later on. Again, that is important that if you are on the radio or whatever medium like that is that you make sure you're findable afterwards.
And repetition.
Consistency.
Now, you know that we have a little thing that we ask people as their final question. Who would Jill Holtz hire in a heartbeat?
This was such a tricky question, Conall, but I've actually thought about it and I would love to hire Derval O'Rourke. I think she is absolutely amazing person. She's built this brilliant business around the fitness and well-being. I think if I was able to nab her and bring her into my business, it would just be a perfect compliment. She seems so energetic and inspiring. Love to have her on board.
That sounds a very sensible idea because I do believe that she is on top of business as well. Yeah. I haven't met her, but I have read
another
lots.
One for your future interviews.
I would look forward to having her on and we will try to connect you because that is what Team GBS does. Jill Holtz, I presume people will find you at ParentsandBrands.com and you're open for business.
We are.
You'd love to hear from people.
We'd love to hear from you and come work with us. We're doing all sorts of interesting things with businesses.
And tell them TeamGBS sent you.
Absolutely, do.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jill Holtz, and thanks for joining us on That Great Business Show.
Thank you.
You're listening to That Great Business Show. ThatGreatBusinessShow.com.
Every week we ask listeners to consider making just one small change to help our environment. Switching from shaving foam to the world's best shaving oil, Mayo-made defactoshave.com, means you will no longer add to the 20 million cans of shaving foam sent to landfills in Ireland every year. A €13 bottle of De Facto should last you more than half a year, so it's good for your planet, your pocket, and your skin. Buy it today, defactoshave.com.
That Great Business Show.
My next guest wants to talk about the easy-to-use, award-winning Muv-X UV room sterilizer, which he says is no ordinary sterilizer. You see, the Muv-X is a portable disinfection device which emits powerful beams of UVC ultraviolet light, quickly sterilizing the air and all visible surfaces in a room. UVC has a long history of use in medical facilities as it inactivates viruses and kills bacteria. And that, as they say, is the end of the ad. Because what I want to talk to John O'Connell, Managing Director at CW Applied Technology, about is how, as a Kerry-born, Limerick-living person, he won the All-Star Clare Business Person of the Year award. John O'Connell, welcome to That Great Business Show.
Delighted to be here, Conall.
Go on, tell us, how did you get that award?
Well, I've been working in Clare for 20 years now.
Shannon.
And in Shannon, exactly, yeah. And I did a management buyout in 2015, completed on the 1st of June 2015, to set up CW Applied Technology. And it's as a result of a product we developed, led ultimately, first of all, we got Innovative Product of the Year 2021 for the product, and that rolled on to becoming Business Person of the Year, Clare 2021. Now, I'm never a fan of personal awards, because it's been a team effort. It's a team sport we're playing. It's not about individuals. So I was initially quite reluctant on it, but when it was explained to me that it's really a recognition of the team, of the company, and what has been done and what has been achieved, then I was, when I rationalise it in those terms, I'm happier with it.
You accepted the gong.
Exactly.
So tell me about CW, where it came from, and where did you, besides coming from Kerry, what's the background?
Well, I'm an electronics engineer. I graduated from UL back in 1988, a long time ago now. And I've been in the electronics industry all that time since, in various roles, from quality engineer, quality manager, design manager, various production manager, operations manager, different roles, managing director for the last 10 years with the company I was with, that I did the management buyout from. And I suppose I recognised, particularly in the latter years of that we were getting a lot of companies coming to us looking for help, particularly startup companies. And there was no place really for them to go. Yes, we weren't coming with investment, but it was help, technical help.
What kind of help? What kind of businesses were looking for your help, and what could you do for them?
They wanted design support in a lot of cases, manufacturing support. Now, at the time, we couldn't give design support because we were owned by a multinational, but we could give manufacturing support because we were doing contract manufacturing.
Now, what does that mean? What is the difference of... talk me through a case study, if you like.
If you developed a product, let's say you had a product concept and you got somebody to design it for you, technical product now,
a better mousetrap.
Then you need somebody to make it for you. And that's where we came in as contract manufacturer. We would under contract to you, manufacture your product for you and distribute it to your distributors or sell it, deliver it directly to your customers.
But you were not going to do the development work on it?
Not at that time. We couldn't do that. Okay. We could see that there was a gap in the market, particularly for smaller companies, but also for larger companies. Like one of the first customers we engaged with when we became independent was Bentley Automotive.
As in Bentley the car?
Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
And they were struggling to find electronics developers that would work with them because Bentley is not a volume car manufacturer for obvious reasons. But then it became something that they just couldn't get the help with. They had a limited number of people that would do that, thankfully. And we got the opportunity to do that. We developed a product for them and we manufacture it for them. Now,
that's why you have to drive a Bentley, is that it?
Well, that's compulsory, as part of the deal, I wish.
And what kind of work would you do with Bentley?
Well, it's very much a first world problem they were trying to solve.
Go on, I love this. I'm sure. Go on, and I don't know the answer.
They had a customer who was interested in, I suppose, maybe to explain, Bentley sell cars in a different way than anybody else does, because you're a particular type of client who's buying a Bentley.
They're also £500,000, so...
Well, that's why you're a particular type of client who's buying a Bentley. And they would have a catalogue of, would sir like this, would sir like this. And in a lot of cases...
And Madame is allowed to have one as well.
Apologies. But in a lot of cases, what sir or madame might like is not actually developed yet. It's a concept. So it's in a catalogue. There's a picture of it there. I say, I like that. I'd like that in my car.
Such as?
In this case, it was darkened glass that you could press a button and have the glass go clear and press it again and have it go
like
dark.
That. Can I get that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you have a Bentley?
No, but...
well, it might be more
We'll go with the glass. Cheaper. And you developed that?
We developed the electronics to do that. The glass exists.
Yeah, I've seen it in offices where you press it.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
But what was the piece you did for? To stick it into a car type of thing? Or?
Yes, to develop the electronics that would allow you to control it, to communicate with the CAN bus in the car, so that, it doesn't interfere with any of the other electronics in the car. And it has scope to be developed further.
And I presume that you'd have to kill me if you told me how many of these are sold, because I'm sure that's a trade secret.
Yes, it is.
But it cannot, and by your own admission, it's not a volume item.
No, it's not a volume item.
Yeah. So what else could you do, and what else do you do? I love that one. That's on my shopping list already.
No, we work for a wide range, and Bentley would probably be the best known customer of ours, but we work for a huge range of small companies and large companies.
How do they find you?
Through the internet, typically. Now, that's one of the big changes that has happened to us in the last year. We never had to go out really and market ourselves as such. It's not that we had loads of customers, but it was more a business to business type of arrangement we have. Now we're much closer to a business to consumer.
Are you?
Because of the product we developed, the room ultraviolet sterilizer.
Okay.
Like, we're selling that to hotels, to care homes, to medical clinics, doctors, sports clubs, a whole range, schools, a whole range. And we're meeting people that are not necessarily understanding of the technology, but know they need
which I help. Like, if I ask people how a petrol engine works, they're not going to tell me very clearly. It goes.
But previously, we would have been working with the people that were designing those engines. But now
you're allowed to, because you travelled from Clare to join us here on That Great Business Show. You're allowed to give it a big fat ad. Go and tell me what is great about your MV. I was mocking it earlier on. So your Muv-X. What's so brilliant about it?
Well, we have ensured, first of all, that this is chemical-free product. So it's environmentally friendly. It is using well-proven technology that inactivates viruses, all viruses. But we've gone a step further. We've got an independent assessment done of it in an FDA-approved laboratory, tested, and it's actually far better than we're even claiming it is. And most other ultraviolet sterilizers out there haven't gone to the extent we have gone to.
Only Irish people would say that.
What's that, sorry?
That it's better than we're even claiming it to be. There's something very Irish about that.
There is. When
you're claiming it's better than.
Yeah, well, when you send something to a laboratory, like we sent 2 units that we took from the production line, sent to the laboratory to be tested. They're 2 units picked from the production line. There's nothing special about them, but at the same time, we have done scientific analysis of the product. So we kind of roll back from what it's capable of to ensure that we're not. It's important to our integrity and that we're telling the truth to the public that this is what it can do.
And what can it do? Because is it for ballrooms? Is it for bedrooms? Is it for public areas? Where do you stick it or position it?
It's primarily for bedrooms. So in hotels, they would use it in bedrooms. They'd also use it in lifts. And
it's kind of bulky for a lift, isn't it?
For a lift, no, it's mobile and you can wheel it about.
Oh, so you don't leave it permanently anywhere?
No.
How long would you put it in for?
So in a typical hotel room, you run it for 15 minutes.
Okay. And what is it doing? It's killing all the buggy thingies.
What UV light does is it splits the DNA of the virus such that it cannot come back together and it inactivates it.
If the virus, for the sake of argument, is under the bed, hiding under the bed, would it get that?
No, it won't. Not unless the light can fall on it.
Aha. Yeah. Okay.
But that's part of the problem, if you like, and my kind of problem with the current setup and the way we're saying, we can't do indoor dining and all of that kind of stuff. There is no silver bullet solution. Nothing is 100% guaranteed. And that goes for the vaccines as well as anything else. So the way we sell this device is that you hit all the high touch points. Like we had one nursing home that said, it's too awkward to use because we need to turn the beds and the furniture all upside down. And then when we ask, well, do you clean under the beds? And then, well, no, we don't. But you want to sterilize them, but you don't clean them. I mean, it makes no sense. But I mean, we're going to, I'm afraid, I know I've heard you say this is nearly over. I'm afraid it's not nearly over. We're going to have to learn to live with it. But we can't just say, we're just going to go out there. Normal isn't coming back, I'm afraid, Conall.
Well, you know what? Something I learnt about yesterday, which has not been covered in the media yet, but I'm sure it'll be picked up, is I see, because of the work that has been done on vaccines for COVID, they're now working on an mRNA vaccine for flu. Now, Imagine if we can get rid of flu. That'd be, which is a mass killer.
Yes.
So that'll be interesting. So maybe it's over in some kind of ways, but maybe,
Well, I think you will get variants, but you just need to have an arsenal of products, basically, that will help you get through this.
Now, the CW, you just explained to me, stands for?
Collaborate to Win. And collaboration was what we set up the company to be, to collaborate with startups, collaborate with multinationals, with design companies, collaborate. Like the way I see it, I often hear you talking about we need to get off the island. That's very true. But a lot of us are very small companies. So we need to collaborate with each other in order to scale.
And that is the guys from Link LINC that we had on. That is a brilliant idea. And that is something I'm going to reinvestigate and push again. Because I think, and for those who don't know about that, go back and look up, I don't remember which episode, but is it EPS Water, I think was the company, and LINC is the idea. Yeah. So you are looking for collaborators, are you?
We are. Collaboration to win, as I say, is collaborate to win is what CW stands for. But ironically enough, the one area we didn't collaborate on when we started was in the area of manufacturing. And, one thing I've learned over the 6 years, and, it's self-evident if you like, but you can't do it all alone. And I think we need to work with another company, maybe the same size as ourselves, maybe larger, maybe
What size
smaller.
is
that? We're 17 people.
Yeah.
But we need to, bring strengths together. If we could find another partner that we could work with that would have certain strengths and we'd bring certain strengths, and together we can be stronger. And how that collaboration would work.
Have you connected with WASP at all? The WASP down in Tralee, WAZP.
No,
They're the 3D printers.
I'm aware of them, actually, yeah.
You should get in contact with them because I think they have very, 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 very big plans.
Yes, Sean Hassell was on your program.
That's it, exactly. Yeah.
And I worked with Sean years ago. 20 years ago.
Well, I will pick up the phone to him and say, TeamGBS sent you, because I think there might be something there. So what kind of companies what other kind of companies would you like to collaborate with?
We're also talking to companies, much larger companies, who would see us maybe as being, what they call a sandbox or a garage where they can try out different ideas, develop new products or processes. And we're very interested in working with people like that. On the other side, on our product, on the UV sterilizer, we already have collaborations in place with companies from the USA, the UK, as far away as Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Germany, Hong Kong.
And how are they finding you? All on the internet, is it?
Yes, yeah. Wow. We've engaged through. We've got some good contacts provided to us by the IDA, actually, by a contact we have in the IDA, and that has helped to develop some of those contacts. And
take the USA, because it's a big area of interest to me. What are you trying to do there?
Well, ultimately, we're trying to sell our room ultraviolet sterilizer, but we have a pipeline of new products. Like we've a upper room ultraviolet sterilizer now, which can be used when people are in the room beneath it. We have a robot.
So go back over that. Yeah, an upper room.
So it's up on the ceiling. Now, there is a minimum height for the ceiling, but it needs to be up above the heads of the people.
So that it's zapping everything below it, is it?
No, the air is circulating in the room, and as the air circulates up towards the ceiling, it inactivates any viruses.
Oh.
Again, this is long proven technology. It was used in Africa in relation to TB in particular, and 80% reduction in person-to-person transmission. So 80%, it's not 100%. Nothing will be 100%.
And are we talking expensive?
No, in that case, you're talking under €1,000.
Okay, and unit. The one that you wheel around the hotel?
That is more expensive, yeah. It's €3,500.
Okay, but it's a one-off investment.
It's a one-off investment, but we're bringing out a rental option now very shortly. We also have a credit-free, you can put down €1,000 and pay over 13 months, interest-free. I should say not credit-free, interest-free. And we have a robotic version as well.
You're 17 people, and you're not going to get into the rental business with the 17 people, are you? Like, that's another business.
No, it is another business, and we have to scale up a bit.
So you're collaborating with somebody on that, are you?
We are working on that, yeah. But for us now, it's all about scaling up and how do we scale up. And like, we have a domestic version of our wheel around the place product, as you call it, and we have. I think it's a very, very good design. But we need really. It's not so much investment. Yeah, we take investment, but it's people with access to a market as well that can, have been delivering white goods to domestic market for a long time.
Well, I often on the podcast mention Connecticut, where I am a co-founder of the Ireland Connecticut Business Council. Would Connecticut be of interest to you? So I want to give this as an example to people listening. Connecticut is nuts keen to get Irish companies to base themselves there. You are halfway between Boston and New York. You've got a third, I think, of the economy of the US on the East Coast around that area. It is massive. They have a huge manufacturing background. Stanley Black & Decker and other well-known companies there. We have a weekly call open to anybody listening to this podcast. Right. And we want people to start looking at it as their toehold into the massive American market.
It could certainly be of interest, yes.
Well, we will make that introduction for you. Yeah. But are you trying to manufacture or trying to develop in Clare? Is it like you're not actually going to have a line of 1,000 of these things coming out a day, are you?
No, we're not, no. Right now, at the scale we're at, we're designing and manufacturing in Clare. If we can get to the scale where we want to be, then we would be manufacturing closer to the market where we would be selling.
So therefore, you want to, as I understand here,
we'd be manufacturing in the US. That would be the plan, the grand plan. But
I was going to two questions.
We can't get there.
All these questions come into my head. Let's finish out in the States first of all.
Yes.
The idea there would be licensed. You would license the technology or something like that.
It depends on how we would do a collaboration with a company. Yeah, and we're open to whatever that might mean. So,
and funding you mentioned. Are you looking for funds?
We are, but again, we haven't. The priority is to find a partner that we can work with.
Mm-hmm.
But investment will be required then, because we are, as you mentioned, a 17-person company, quite a small company, and to scale to where we want to go to,
which
takes quite a. Well, we would like to be putting out 1,000.
But how many people will that take?
My biggest weakness at the moment is at the top level of the company, is at the management level. So there's myself and there's a production manager. And that's pretty much it, really. So I am the HR manager, the R&D manager, the sales manager. I've hired a marketing executive recently.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But, it's that kind of...
I know, but that's business, isn't it? I mean,
it is business, yes.
So you're looking for top management down Clare way, somebody who might like to live down in the most beautiful part of the country.
Exactly.
And
the second most beautiful anyway.
Because Kerry really is.
Absolutely,
Where in Kerry?
Tralee.
Okay, well, I'm sure you know them. So, I have family connections into Waterfall, you may remember.
Okay.
Anyway, going back into the other one about the Bentley, just thinking about that, was Brexit a big pain in the face for you, or?
It has been, it is and it isn't. We have developed some new business out of it through people wanting to access the EU market.
Yeah.
So getting product manufactured here. And actually, when I talked there about a company that we might partner with on the manufacturing side, there's a UK-based company that's interested in talking to us about some level of business collaboration.
That's very exciting.
It is, yeah. There's a lot happening.
Yeah.
And it's, keep all the balls in the air and
well, TeamGBS is here for you, and I'm going to ask anybody and everybody who is listening just to say, okay, let's think about the company CW Applied Technology and see what we can find and help them with. I'd love, say, if you came back in 6 months or in a year's time and you said, we got this and with this was made this contact. My first promise, and absolutely definitely, you will be on the Ireland Connecticut call. We do that every Wednesday, 3 p.m. My great friend over in the USA, PJ Chimini, organizes that, and you will talk directly to investors, to manufacturers, to the weird and wonderful bunch of people.
That's fantastic.
We had Irish Urns on, and they were selling urns to the US. And on the call, a woman says, my brother-in-law or something like that, he has 7 or maybe more, did she say 14 funeral homes. How random is that? Come here to me. Final question. Hire in a heartbeat. Who would you love to hire in a heartbeat?
I've thought about that. I could go with the kind of Steve Jobs and that would be difficult enough at the moment. But actually, given what I've talked to you about in terms of the UV sterilizer, the hospitality market, scaling a company, Aisling Hassell, I don't know if you've come across Aisling. Aisling was vice president of Airbnb, based here in Dublin.
I do. Do you know what? I think, I couldn't remember, but I used to present another radio show that shall remain nameless, the Sunday Business Show. And I think we had her on way back.
Oh, right, okay.
Back in the days when I said, Airbnb, that'll never work.
Right, okay.
What is it now? About 100 zillion billions worth of company? Yeah. So yet another one that I was so clever about. And she'd be good, wouldn't she?
She would, yeah. And in fact, that has that background in hospitality as well, because Airbnb would be a target market for us as well, yeah.
Imagine if you got into every... In fact, if it was made compulsory.
That would be
that'd
nice.
be sweet. Oh, my God. Listen, better to buy a lot of tickets on the way home.
Yeah,
I'd be more chance of it. John O'Connell, who is the CEO and everything else, Chief Bottle Washer at CW Applied Technology. Thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show. And also, I have to mention this, thank you so much for all of your support on social media. You were one of the good ones who really, you must do nothing else except tweet, retweet, comment, whatever. And just like John, if you want to be on the show, just follow us on LinkedIn page and talk to us, because we love talking to you.
Thank you very much, Conall.
Subscribe today to That Great Business Show on your favourite podcast platform, including Apple and Spotify.
It's in all our interests to have a cleaner planet, and it's up to all of us to do something about that. Or there may not be a livable planet in the future, and that would be bad for business and probably bad for all of us. Regular listeners will know that we try, via our sponsor De Facto Shave, to do our bit by asking people to switch from non-recyclable shaving foam cans to sustainable and recyclable Mayo-made De Facto shaving oil.
Conobio, That Great Business Show.
One man who's doing his bit to recycle PET plastics is Neil Skeffington, the man behind Meath-based Novelplast, a company that uses advanced technology to make the unrecyclable recyclable. Neil, welcome to That Great Business Show.
Thank you very much for having me, Conall. Pleasure to be here.
You are using, is it German technology?
Austrian technology.
Austrian, I knew it was over that
For some reason, the Austrians seem to be the centre of the world when it comes to recycling technology. There's 3 or 4 of the largest manufacturers of machinery are there, based there. So.
And you have a plastic background.
I have.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, well, does it these days? I'm not so sure. I've a degree in polymer engineering from Athlone IT, and I've been in plastic packaging since I left college. So most of which was making plastics. So at the moment, we're trying to do our bit to recycle,
to undo the damage.
I wouldn't say undo the damage. It's like plastics is a dirty word at times, but it serves a great purpose. It's there's a reason it overtook glass back in the day, and there's a reason it's better than cardboard. But we're not very responsible with how we handle it and how we dispose of it or recycle it. So,
and there's so much confusion about what can or can't be recycled, and etc. How and ever you're doing something good and better.
We are. We're a little bit different in that we take post-industrial plastics, PET. We take it in many different forms. We take it in lumps, in fibres, in sheet form, in granulate, in pellets, and we blend it up and we repelletize it and add some nice additives and try to get it back to a level that is close on or at virgin level, so that we can replace virgin plastics in a lot of products. So our main market is into the plastic fibre industry, but we also supply into the plastic packaging market, both here in Ireland and over in the UK.
And does your product, can that be further recycled? Because isn't this another problem, is that you recycle once and sayonara, baby?
I wouldn't say once, but technically every time you recycle
degrades.
plastics, it degrades a little bit, you lose a little bit of the colour. And there are additives there where you can bring it back, but there's not really that infinite loop there for recycling plastics as it stands at the moment with the current recycling technologies that are out there. Some of them are quite mature, like your typical PET bottle recycling is mechanical recycling. So it brings the bottles in, it washes them, it separates the different plastics out, and then you pelletize it, and it there are technologies there that can replenish some of the properties, but not all of them.
And is that the stuff, those pellets, are they sent to you and Meath?
No, so that's the sexy side of the business. We're affectionately called the bottom feeders. So we look for the stuff that people don't want. Typically, such as big lumps. So every resin manufacturing plant, every sheet extrusion plant, they have startup waste. So they have big lumps of plastic that, up until recently, a lot of would have ended up in landfill. So we take those, and we've designed a plant that helps us to get considerable quantities of that into our product that we supply.
This is very interesting. I could go back and tell you about a company I came across many, many years ago called Dunbia. And what they were doing is that they were recycling animal offal. So and it was a fabulous, I think it was based up in Oma, fabulous business, because the base product, the raw material, was coming in at zero cost.
Really, yeah.
Are you getting yours at zero cost?
We don't like to get it at zero cost because, and I know that sounds crazy on a business show, but what we find is that the sustainability is better served if there's a value on the material. So people will look after it. Our suppliers of that material will look after it better.
But if they're chucking it,
they're paying to get rid of it.
Yeah,
at the moment. So, and what we found at the start is that we were finding everything in these bags of plastic. We were finding rubber gloves, tools. The only thing was missing was the men on the end of the tools. We literally found everything. So, we quickly decided we needed to put a value on this. And I think it helps to improve the sustainability of plastics if there's a value on all the waste streams, and we can do something with those. And even some of the customers, what we're doing with that waste is we're bringing it into the factory, we're repelletizing it for them, we're cleaning it up, and we're sending it back to them. So that's our tolling service that we do. And they then can put that back into their product at a small percentage, and everybody's a winner, and it helps them to improve their sustainability as well.
And where is your product coming from? Ireland or international? Or?
All over. When we first started, we were bringing a lot of material from Asia, which sounds a bit crazy because typically we used to ship all our waste there. So we took a decision last year that we were going to try and improve the carbon footprint of the materials we're bringing in. So we try and source everything from the EU at the moment. We're probably about 85% EU sourced plastics, and the rest then will come from Asia.
Now, I mischaracterized you at the very beginning when I said that you're going to make all our consciousness, whatever it is, feel better because of the plastic bottles that we use. In fact, that I have in front of me here to drink my water. But you're not going near those, are you?
We're not. No, there are recycling streams for that type of material. We have an exciting project coming up with a consortium that was put together with Athlone IT, UCC, and a company down in Cork called Avancore Packaging, who have been around for a long time. They're quite innovative in PET packaging. And basically what we're going to try to do is to set up a system whereby we can recycle these food trays that we all arrive home with in horror. We look on the kitchen table when we unpack our shopping, and all of those end up in landfill at the moment or incineration.
It's terrible, isn't it?
It is, and we most of us go to the effort of washing them and drying them and putting them into our recycling bin. But the reality is that they're shipped out of Ireland or they go to incineration or landfill. So what this technology allows us to do is to depolymerize the PET without getting too technical.
You've just done so.
Okay, and it separates the other materials from it. So the other plastics, if it's a coloured tray, it takes out the colour and it leaves it with the monomer, whereby you can make a virgin polymer from a recycled monomer, which is quite neat. And it creates that infinite loop of recycling, which is missing there at the moment with recycling technology.
I'm just looking at you describing all of this. You are a plastic nerd, aren't you? You're getting excited by all of this. And I can see you walking around a shop looking, say, oh God, that's such and such.
I love recycling. Yeah. And I think it's an exciting time to be part of it.
Oh, we have
the
to
last
do it
few
anyway,
years have been tough as a recycler. It's because it's expensive.
Yeah.
And
when you say tough, why?
The price of virgin plastic was so low for the last 2 years. So,
because of low oil.
Yeah, people won't pay for recycled content whenever the virgin price is that low. So we need help from the EU, which is coming in the form of legislation that will force packaging manufacturers to have a 25% recycled content in there.
When is that due?
It's due in 2025 to go to 25%, and then in 2030 to go to 30%. So
will that make a huge difference now? Or
it'll break the link between virgin and recycled polymers, whereby recycled isn't a nice thing to have anymore. It's something that you have to have in your packaging.
That's still 4 years away.
It is, but a lot of people are making moves at the moment because they know they can't just switch this on in 4 years' time. Because there isn't an infinite amount of recycled plastic out there. And the recycling facilities are really not there at the moment. You are based in Gibbstown, Ballygib in Cunda an Bhí. An Udaros company. Why are you based there particularly? It's close to our main customer. You have one customer, one main customer? Or? We have one main customer in Ireland, yes. Do you identify that? It's a company called Wellman International. They're W-E-L. W-E-L-L-M-A-N. Yeah. They're the largest PET fibre manufacturer in Europe. Okay. So we sell quite a lot to them. We have other customers, but they're our main customer. Most the other customers would be mainly in the packaging industry and some in the fibre. But that would be our main customer. So we're 15 minutes down the road from them. Udaros had a derelict old factory that looked ideal at the time, but cost a lot of money to get it back to a level where we could call it an advanced factory. But we're in there now. We got great support from Udaros back in the early days, and we continue to get support from them. And they've been great to us so far. And how many people have you got working with you there? We have 33 hardy souls that come in and work for us. We operate 24/7. Oh, do you? We do, yeah. We were 24/5 until a few months ago, and then a lot of the projects that we were working on last year kind of started to take off. So we went back to 24/7 just to take a little bit of stress off the business. So it runs there at the weekends, and we don't get much sleep at the weekends. But yeah, it's and plans. What plans do we got? So we have a few plans. The consortium with Athlone IT and UCC and Avancourt received funding recently through the Disruptive Technology Innovation Fund with Enterprise Ireland of 1.9 million. So that's to develop the chemical recycling technology. So for me, that's an incredibly exciting project. It's been nice to work with your old alma mater as well. It is, yeah. There was a lot of people there that were much smarter than I was. So it's nice to tap into that knowledge eventually. And that is the way collaboration works, is that these people do sit there thinking big thoughts, and you have your hands dirty making the stuff. So I think that always works. Somebody has to do the dirty side of it. But we have another very interesting project with a company down in Cork, a company called Oceanore. They make sustainable clothing, design to order sustainable clothing from sustainable cotton, from recycled polyester and recycled nylons. And we've an MOU signed. We're going to be releasing more information about it in the next few weeks. But it's basically a project. You can tell us now. Okay, I'll tell you now. We're going to set up a pilot plant to recycle all the fishing gear in Ireland, because if you've been to a fishing port in Ireland, you will see there's mountains of fishing gear and nobody seems to know what to do with it. So we're going to set up a pilot plant in the next few months. We have support, verbal support from Udaros na Gaeltachta, and BIM are keen for us to get moving on it because it's such a big problem out there. And again, legislation is changing in 2024 where you have to be more responsible with your waste. And how is it going to be harvested, if I can use that word? I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. I was down in Wexford for a week. You can see it everywhere. It's everywhere. Every fishing port. I was in Northern Ireland last week. They had the same problem. It's just sitting there in mountains. So who collects it? Nobody. The harbours. We will. We won't collect it physically. We'll contract somebody to collect it. We're going to take over one of the warehouses in Ballygib. And from there, we'll set up a small stripping and shredding operation. We'll separate the different polymers. There'll be nylon fishing nets, which Novelplast will take and pelletize, and we'll then try to develop new products with that. And then there's other materials as well. There's polyethylene and all sorts of. But they're going to go into clothing. It's probably won't get to clothing, but some of them might. It's difficult to make recycled yarns from that type of material. So when I say clothing, they'll probably end up in sunglasses, or the peak of your cap, or we're going to find something nice. That's where Oceanore come into it. They do the sexy stuff again. We do the dirty stuff. So they're good at the marketing. I bought, many decades ago, a monkey suit, a tuxedo suit type of thing
from one of the larger cheap retailers. I'm convinced it was made out of pure plastic. I mean, it couldn't.
Could have been. You were sweating a lot, really.
A lot.
Yes.
And if anything spilt on it, it ran straight off. So if it wasn't, it may have been well ahead of its time.
I mean, clothing is a big problem. Fast fashion is such a huge problem. That's where most of the microplastics in the ocean come from. Is every time you wash your clothes, a little bit of microplastics goes into the ocean. So yeah, we need to fix that. We're not going to fix it in our lifetime. We
have to.
We've made a mess of it, I think, and our children coming behind us will be cleaning up this mess for quite some time.
Well, I always believe that science can fix many, many things, the way that they did handle COVID. So maybe. Yeah. Anyway, what are the plans, as I say, for the company in the broader terms? What's the big vision? If you're sitting in the bath, what are you thinking of?
I'm thinking we want to grow the site in Gibbstown where we are at the moment. We have a lot of growth plans. Last year kind of kicked the life out of us because we had to close for 2 months at the start of COVID because we weren't. There was a grey area around essential manufacturing or not, and we didn't want to seem to be the ones who were dragging people into work when there was scenes of devastation everywhere, really. So that set us back a lot last year. But we're back at the level that we were pre-COVID. And we're generating a lot of new sales leads and new projects coming up with some big blue chip companies who love what we do and the technology we have.
And where are they finding you? This is something I keep asking people because I'm now on a little mission to see how to crack international markets in the post-COVID era. Is it internet?
Well, for us, it's more word of mouth. We've started working with a lot of packaging companies out there and what we found that last year we were trying to go out, we were trying to approach other big companies to come on board and get involved in what we do. They weren't that interested because Virgin was so cheap. Now that the price of Virgin has probably doubled since last year, they're coming to us saying, can you help us with our waste materials? Will you palletize it for us? Will you buy it from us? Whatever it might be. So we're finding more and more like that. Some big blue chip companies as well are coming to us to revisit projects that we first spoke to them about last year. Last year was all on Teams, which is a complete nightmare. And I think everybody's sick of it.
You were going to use another word.
I was. I just saw you go,
You're allowed to use any words you like in a podcast.
Well, we have actually banned Teams in the office every Friday from now on. So I think everybody's just sick of Teams and Zoom, and you don't get a lot done. You look at your schedule at the start of the day, and it's Teams and Zoom from wall to wall, from start to finish.
And this is episode 41, and I have avoided using any Zoom except for 2. I think we had to for various reasons.
Yeah,
because I so agree with you. Yeah. It kills the conversation.
Yeah. And I got to travel a few weeks ago. I was in Italy a few weeks ago there, and just to go out and meet some new customers and go and have lunch with them and share a glass of wine and talk about business, talk about ways we can work together, what materials they have. It's, to be able to do that again, I think is fantastic. And I think the sooner we get our act together on this digital certificate and we get people traveling again, I think the world will be a better place.
I think it will be indeed. Now, we always ask as a final question, which never ends up being the final question because the next question after that is why, is who would you hire in a heartbeat?
Difficult question.
Everybody says that, but nobody has failed to answer it yet.
It took me a few days to come up with an answer for this, because there's so many people out there that you'd love to hire. But recycling and plastics in general and how we treat them, it's a lot of it is communication and getting a message out there. And for me, the best person in the world who has done that in the last few years has been Greta Thunberg. If there's one person who can get a message out there, it's Greta. So yes, that's who I'd hire in a heartbeat.
Well, that's a great choice because, we, as you know, tag everybody on these things to see whether they will talk to you. Do you think if I get you Greta...
We'll get her down to Ballygib.
Yeah.
Her first experience of the Gaeltacht, maybe.
And lovely Meath. So why not? Yeah, we'll give Greta a whirl. And, sorry, I did know that there was another question that I was going to ask you. Funding. Are you looking for funding?
We're funded at the moment. Our main funders are Beach Point Capital, who we have been with since day zero, and they've been a great support. They're a different type of debt, but there's not many options out there for startup companies. So as it stands right now, we're funded. We have money in the bank, but we have growth plans. So whatever that might look like in a few years' time, we're open to a lot of suggestions. Since the article in the Business Post a few weeks ago, we've had a lot of people coming to us with options. So you're always looking, like there's a lot of projects out there you can get involved in. This fishing net project will require a lot of money in a few years' time once we get over the pilot phase. The DTIF project with Athlone IT and the guys is going to take a lot of money in a few years' time. So we will be looking for funding. We're actively always searching to speak to the right people. Let's
see what TeamGBS can dig up for you, and we'll send the cash, the check your way. And they will find you where?
They'll find us in novelplast.ie, novelplast.ie, or they can come and visit us in Ballygib, County Nami.
And his name is Neil, Neil, Neil Skeffington. Great name, Neil Skeffington. And what is it? I can't remember your email address. Is it
Neil.Skeffington at novelplast.ie.
We'll get him. So send the check to him as well, but you can send it 10% to me. Neil Skeffington, thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
It's all go, le cuasaí gno on thatgreatbusinessshow.com. That Great Business Show.
My next guest has advised companies across all industries, including the hardware, software, pharmaceutical, medical device, insurance, banking, and agri-food sectors, to help them claim well in excess of €100 million annually in research and development or R&D tax credits. That means they get the money back. For me, though, the most amazing thing is that some hundreds of companies, and that could be yours, don't claim their legitimate credits. And that's how Conall Noon of R&D tax credits has built his business, advising companies of their entitlements and making sure they get their due credits. Welcome to That Great Business Show, Conall.
Thanks, Conall. Thanks for having me.
You are Father Christmas. You're the only accountant I've met so far who actually gets people money and makes them richer after you have visited.
Yes, it's a rare person, a rare accountant that you'll go and hand them money and they'll hand you more back afterwards. Most of your accounting firms and your tax advisors will calculate how much you owe, take a big chunk of it, and then say the revenue are owed X on top of that.
On top of that, exactly. Now, the big piece, and that's why I put it in paragraph 2 of my lead-in, is there are hundreds of companies that don't claim their credits. That's mad.
It is and it isn't. And the reason it isn't is because there's quite a bad reputation out there on R&D tax credits, that they're difficult to claim. If you get it wrong, there's big issues. There's a lot of revenue intervention and audits. And all that's true. But the benefit massively outweighs the risk for almost any company in any type of innovative technology development.
If you're legit, you're legit, you're legit.
You are, but it's an unusual area of tax because there's an element of subjectivity to it. It's not just a financial calculation. You have to assess, am I doing experimental development work that's seeking to achieve a technological advancement and seeking to resolve scientific or technological uncertainties? And whether or not you're doing that is really subject to who is making that assessment. No one can really give you a guarantee that the person walking through the door to assess you is going to agree with your interpretation.
And will that interpreter be a revenue person?
Generally, no. So revenue don't have the expertise, obviously,
understandably,
to advise or to make that assessment on companies. So they'll hire someone usually from academia to come out and talk to those companies and talk to the technical people within the companies and make those assessments. And as I'm sure you know yourself, depending on the personality of that person in academia, what's research and development will vary massively from person to person.
Go on, tell us the ones when you see Professor X is coming. Does your heart sink?
Yes, there's more difficult assessors, and it's to do with their industry experience quite often. So if they are pure academics, they've worked in academia for 20, 30 years, and what they do is R&D. So in their head, like, we're thinking of the next product, we're writing a white paper, no one's done this before, it's a really specialised area. This is R&D, which is obviously massively removed from commercial R&D. Commercial R&D is about developing a product. It's not really research. It's rarely research. They're rarely looking at a new concept or trying to even apply an academic white paper. A lot of the time, they're trying to develop a new product using existing technologies and tools that have to be adapted for a specific solution to deliver the technological advancement. And they don't know how to do that. And it's complex to do it. And it meets the definition of development. But there's often a disconnect from a academic point of view between what they do and what a company does, and that's where you start falling into difficulties in an audit.
And what attracted, besides obviously that I wanted to find out about these companies who are passing up on tens, maybe hundreds of millions, maybe not hundreds, tens of millions, there is also the fact that you are not just dealing with massive big corporations, you were talking about SMEs as well.
Yes, and I suppose my background, I've come from a Big Four. I was a director in Big Four.
PwC, you can say the word.
PwC, okay, for like a number of years. And I was specifically in this field. So I'm kind of, I'll say a weird one. I'm an electronic engineer and I'm a chartered accountant. So not trusted by either side is the way I'd probably describe it. And
you're very modest because you are one of the few who is in this area. Am I right?
There's very few specialised accountants.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I wouldn't even go that high. Yeah. You've got the Big Four. You've got some of the second tier have a good or decent advisory service in this, and then there's not a lot of boutique tax or accountancy firms that can specialise in this area.
And what you told me when we were having a little chat, a little off the record chat, is you're half price.
Half price, I am.
You're stuck now. I've just made you.
When you compare my offering, so to what I was charging previously, I'm like literally 50%.
Are you going to give the others their money back for the...
I don't have that much money. So no, I don't have that much money, unfortunately. Not yet anyway, we'll see.
Talk me through, I am an SME. I have, what kind of R&D are we talking about? Is there, I was talking earlier about a better mousetrap and stuff like that. Are we talking about something like that, or is it around your wheel, or?
It's STEM. So your company has to be set up developing a project on the core STEM areas. So science, technology, engineering, or mathematics, really. So, what you consider the normal tech industry. So your med devices, your pharmaceuticals, your tech, your computer hardware, those type of industries, even in agricultural, food sciences, those type of industries is where you're looking at. So if you fit within there, you should be at least contemplating claiming an R&D tax credit. Now,
why would you not?
Well, I'll talk about legacy and I'll talk about currently. So again, legacy, there's not a lot of advisors, and those advisors aren't cheap. So if you're an SME, you've fought hard to get your money, get your funding, you have your funding in, you're developing your product, you have your local accountant, you're not going to a PwC or KPMG, you're not going to a Grant Thornton even, you're not going to any of the mid-level firms because they're too expensive. You're going to your local accountant down the road. You might ask your local accountant about R&D tax credits and he will say, they're fairly dangerous, I keep away from them. And the reality is that local accountant has no idea about R&D tax credits. Why would he? It doesn't come up every day. He might have 50 clients, there might be 2 that could theoretically claim R&D tax credits. It's a specialised area of tax and that person doesn't know. So I'm actually teaming up with those accountants at the moment and saying, if you have someone, send them on to me and we'll look after them. I'm not a competing firm. You have no risk there. You send them to me for R&D tax credits. You know they're going to get the good service and get good advice in the area. You're still going to do all the rest of their stuff and they're going to be happy. So that's why historically you're going to find a lot of companies not claiming. Going forward, I'm hoping building brand awareness, making sure people understand what's there, kind of getting people into a process early in their development life cycle to capture the information they're going to need to claim at the end will mean that companies will automatically claim. And it'll be low risk claims because the data's there, the information's there, the financial records are there, and they can kind of approach it with a level of confidence that historically would never have happened.
Let us talk through a living example, maybe a software company. That will that come under R&D tax credits?
Yes.
Okay. So software company delivers a software and they may have spent, I don't know, think of a number, say €250,000 getting there. What kind of a rebate can they expect?
Well, if they've spent €250,000 and it's R&D and all of that is R&D, they'll expect a 25% refund on that, really. Okay. So if I kind of usually break it down by, it's based off payroll. It's based off people. The whole concept of R&D tax credits is to encourage employment in STEM. And that's why it was introduced and that's still what it's there for. So you're going to look at how many people do I employ? Are those people doing R&D? Are they technically qualified to do that R&D activity? If they are and they're spending their time on it, realistically their salary or a good chunk of their salary will go into the R&D tax credit claim. And then you're starting to look at what other costs were incurred in developing that product. So if, as a rule of thumb, generally, for every person we see in an R&D tax credit claim, as a core development person or person whose job is R&D, you're typically talking about €100,000 per person of cost, which is a €25,000 credit for each person.
They have to be in Ireland, though, do they? Because a lot, as you know, software development is done overseas.
So you need to have a presence in Ireland. You need to be doing some level of R&D in Ireland. Now,
sorry. Now, the company, I have a Sliabh na Mán bottle in front of me here. Sliabh na Mán software, based in Ireland, but has outsourced some of the development to guys in, whether it's Mexico or Spain or somewhere, it doesn't matter.
So if it's some, you can claim a portion of those costs. So if you're Sliabh na Mán and you say, I have 2 software developers here in Ireland and I've outsourced €100,000 worth of R&D to India or was it Poland, I can claim that full €100,000 in my R&D tax credit claim. Now, there's limits and caps on all this stuff, so the bigger you get, the less beneficial it is. But subcontractors, okay, there's a whole area of legislation around this, but you're able to claim up to your internal spend on R&D. So as long as you're spending something internally on your payroll costs, you can claim up to the same amount of those internal costs.
Now, you've lost me there.
So let's say you're spending, let's just say the most simple example, you're spending €60,000 in-house on R&D. That's your in-house costs, your own person and other ancillary costs associated with your R&D, like your hardware costs, your software costs, your cloud computing costs. And then you say, I'm actually outsourcing a portion of this. And you outsource €100,000. You only spend €60,000 internally. You can claim 60,000 of those outsourced costs as though they were internal costs. So your claim is no longer 60,000, it's 120,000. So your total credit value is 30,000 or 40,000, 30,000.
That's all right.
That's all right, yeah. As it goes up, so once you start spending more than €100,000 internally, your cap hits €100,000. And once you start spending over, I think it's €666,000 internally, your cap turns into 15% of your internal spend. So if you're spending €1 million internally, you can claim 150,000 of outsourced costs.
Okay, and since you have to spend the money if you're trying to develop, it's still... So when the revenue call, and they sound like they call very regularly.
They do.
Is this an area of concern to them, or do they think it's dodgy or something?
Well, it's the Irish revenue. Like, they don't think of their job. Their job is to collect taxes. It's not to hand over cash to people. They don't particularly
But this
enjoy
particular one seems to, like everybody, anybody can get an audit. But this one, does this attract even more attention?
Yes, your probability of an audit is massively increased if you have an R&D tax credit claim. So, like anyone, I'd say to any company who's claiming an R&D tax credit, if you're going to claim, you need to be prepared. You're going to get audited at some point. It might not be this year, it might not be next year, but over a 5 to 8 year period, you're going to get at least one. So, and you need to be set up from day one when you start to claim to make sure you have all the information there and it's retained. So you can claim today and revenue come knocking on your door in 4 years' time to assess your R&D tax credit claim. That's difficult for companies. And that's difficult for companies because they developed something 4 years ago. Do their technical staff still work here? Can someone actually talk the technical assessor through the project? Secondly, in 4 years' time, is the technology in 4 years' time might be fairly routine now because technology moves fast. At the time, it could have been cutting edge. And it's hard to get that point in time assessment. So there's certain things you need to have done at the time.
Such as, how do you prove this stuff? This is very interesting.
Well, it's hard to prove. So it's a subjective judgment. But I'd say to companies, and Revenue require this now in their most recent guidelines, they expect a state-of-the-art review. So at the start of your project, when you start thinking, I'm going to do an R&D project here, that you've done your due diligence. You've looked at technologies that are out there. You've looked at alternative solutions and you've said, look, this does represent an advancement and this does have uncertainties associated with it. And here's why. By doing that point in time assessment, it gives you, I'd say, a level of comfort that you wouldn't have if you didn't do that assessment. If you don't do that assessment.
But if you're going to be an EI company, for example, you're going to have to do that anyway, don't you?
Yes, you do. If you're an EI company and if you're getting grant funded like that, generally you've done it. So
can you get grant funding and get your R&D money back?
You can.
Oh, this is getting better.
Yeah, no, it's you can get grant funding. So if you got a 20% RD&I grant, you can still claim R&D tax credits on the 80% balance. So theoretically, you are 40% funded by the state to do your R&D. So they're they're built on top of each other.
Is it working as an idea? Like if... By the way, did you tell me how many? Is there 1,200 odd companies that claim?
There's 1,600 companies claiming annually. Okay, approximately,
and there could be another 400 or 500.
Yeah, there could be easily. Some companies don't claim because of fear and because it's.
But that's not right. I mean, that's that's a silly system. If the people are feared,
it's a silly system. And look, there's reasons why there's reasons why companies are reluctant, and some of that reasons is. This is not finance. So if you think about tax and you think about, this is a tax element of tax. So I get hired by a finance team and then I say to the finance team, see you later. I'm talking to your technical team for the entirety of this claim because the last person I need to talk to is Joe or it's the CFO. It's CTO, all the technical teams, project managers. And at the end, I'll go to finance. We need to put numbers on this now. I have all the information I need to get those numbers. Those engineers are like, well, I don't want to do this. I just want to do my day-to-day job. And if you look at the way claims have been done historically, what has happened is at the end of a financial year, I'll go in and I'll talk to the engineering team and they'll say to me, what you want to know? And I was like, I want to know everything you did last year. And they're like, oh my God. So what were you doing in January? What were you doing in February? What were you doing in March? What were you doing in April?
I went to work.
And they're like, I don't know. And engineers are very forward thinking. I think about what's the next problem? How would you solve it? Blah, blah, blah. And they might look back and go, yeah, no, that was okay. I want to tax credits about pain. I need to show uncertainty. I need to show where things failed. I need to see the difficulties. And doing that at that end of the year and making them go back and look at it, they hate it.
It would drive me nuts.
Yeah, and look, that's what I'm getting away from now. So I've built a platform to claim warranty tax credits on, and it's literally monthly. So monthly, end of each month, the engineers go in, capture their time, say this is how much time we're spending on the warranty projects, and then capture the pain, as I call it. Like I want to know the pain. I want to know which
that's descriptive, is it? Like we tried to do X and it failed and...
Yeah, exactly. So they have their project management systems in place. They'll have all of their agile development methodologies and stuff in place and they'll have all that there, but it's not readable. I need to have a descriptive text of what you're doing, how it fit within the project overall, how it kind of trying to deliver the advancement you'd outlined and how it's overcoming some technical uncertainties. And that's it. So monthly is the way forward, in my opinion. And then you just click a button at the end of the year and it's done. And the engineers can move on each month.
We're very familiar with a lot of the accelerators around town. And I'm just wondering, aloud, are they up to speed on all of these tax credits? I don't think that they are. In other words, this should be a module in their...
I agree. I will be and am reaching out to all the accelerators and again, the platform I've built. So you don't even have to hire me. Yeah. So I've built a whole platform. You can log in the first day. I'll talk you through it. You have a conversation with me and say, do I have an warranty tax credit claim? And I'll just say yes or no. Yeah. So you'll describe it to me and I'll go, no, for X reason. Or, yeah, you probably do. This is what you need. This is what you need to have captured as you go through it so that when you come to the end of the financial year, it's easy to calculate your claim. It's the way I describe it to people.
You see, you're an accountant and you do those kind of things. You know what I'm going to say next. Yeah. People like me, no.
Yeah.
No, I just couldn't be bothered. I know it's going to save me money and everything else, but oh no. There's a poor woman called Rosemary whose heart bleeds when I ring because she knows what's coming next.
But it's kind of, how would I describe it? It's like you're going to keep your receipts, you're going to keep your invoices. You don't know. So you're the person who walks in with a plastic bag full of paperwork and kind of throws it at your accountant at the end of the year.
Senator David Norris gives a fantastic speech. I've heard it a few times about him and the revenue. And it would make you cry laughing about him and his receipts. Oh. I would be not terribly dissimilar. Yeah, I have all the receipts somewhere.
You're the nightmare. You're the nightmare client. You're hoping people who are setting up these companies. And look, again, these people are scientific people. They are highly qualified technical people. They're structured and methodical in what they do, generally speaking, to get to where they're getting to and to develop the company they're developing. They want a system. They want a process. So, yeah, you're more creative, I suppose, the creative type.
I'm a pain in the face. That's what I am. So you have developed your own software. Mm-hmm. Question.
Yes.
Did you claim R&D? I've only just thought of this. Did you claim R&D credit for it?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Because
you created a software.
I created a software. Well, I'll tell you why I didn't. The level of technological uncertainty associated with developing my software didn't exist. So I developed my software on a
platform
on an existing platform, a low-code web app development platform. And the reason I did that is because this stuff changes rapidly and I need to be able to change it rapidly. So if I went and did a full stack development on it, it's hard to change. It's hard to change fast. And there's certain security protocols, there's certain management of cloud infrastructure stuff that I would have had to do. It would have taken up way too much time. So I developed it on a platform. So I didn't really, I say, resolve the technological uncertainties of what I did. It was resolved for me and I just built a process on top of it.
Okay. We'll let you off that one. 2 quick questions. Oddly enough, despite COVID, there is an economy trundling along, and there's going to be a budget, believe it or not, in a few months' time. If you had your magic wand, is there something that you would change to try to stimulate the whole area of R&D?
I'm helping the Institute of Chartered Accountants at the moment write their pre-budget submission on recommendations. So there has been a change. It was announced in Budget 2019 around kind of a small and medium enterprise credit. So new rules for small and medium enterprises to try to promote that sector into claiming. And that is awaiting EU approval and then a commencement order from the Minister for Finance. So it was in the 2019 budget. It still isn't in place, but it increases the credit to 30% for those small and medium enterprises. And it allows them to claim before they start trading, and it allows them to claim kind of in a more beneficial way compared to the other.
2019, this is 2021.
Yeah. So I know.
Just drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, companies are scrambling around.
Scrambling for cash. And like 30%, 25 to 30% is a big increase. It's a 20% increase for companies on already tax credits. So if you look at the figures there, like those small and medium enterprises claim on average about 83K a year. It's an extra 17.5K to them a year.
Yeah.
So it's
could get you over the line sometime, somewhere, yeah.
Well, that's it's a lot of cash. Like if you think about the difficulty in just raising funds in a startup, that type of money is hugely beneficial. You're getting funded for money you've already collected to fund your startup. So it's like a little bonus incentive. You're also hopefully getting your Enterprise Ireland grants. So you're like, this is, some say it's easy money, but it's money that should be there. And then that advanced regime for those SMEs will be hugely beneficial for them when it comes into play. It's when it'll come into play now. So there's obviously the EU have to approve it, but then there's like the current financial position from, the government overall. As in, are they going to start giving loads more cash to startups?
No.
Because like there's lots of established, there's lots of established companies out there that are really struggling, lots of established sectors that are really struggling. And I have a tech startup. I want an extra 20% or a tax credit. Except
it could be the next Stripe, but then that's a different story.
It could be.
Final question. Who would you hire in a heartbeat?
Well, it's funny you should mention Stripe. Like if you look at what I am. I'm an accountant and electronic engineer. And what's the sweet spot? Like the Collison brothers, what they've done in Stripe is unbelievable. The way that they've kind of, I would say, integrated that technology and finance modules, and they're going to strength in COVID at the moment with the whole e-commerce drive. And they're actually developing tax technology tools that integrate with the Stripe platform. So like going forward, those type of companies, like they're automating VAT and sales tax compliance in their platform. So as long as you're doing things through their platform, they'll look after all of your compliance kind of globally pretty much. So they're doing some cool things. So the Collison brothers will be amazing, not just for the really interesting technology that they have, but also what they're looking to do and striving forward with it. It's going to be fascinating.
Could they, if you made me think about this now, cause trouble for the accountancy business, as in the tax compliance, as in it'll be automated?
That's where the future is. So like if I've left, I left my comfortable job because I believe most tax is automatable now.
Yeah.
Like I look at the companies, again, I'm kind of in a luxury position because I get to go in and talk to the engineers. I get to look at the cutting edge technologies that are emerging around AI and different applications. And I get to look at the financial costs and the elements of this and see how it all integrates together. I honestly believe the existing structures around financial advisors are going to be massively changed within 20 years.
20? I'd say 5.
No, it'll take time. It'll take time. It's like, so there's always a trust element, and like, am I going to diversify into this, and will I trust that computer to do my tax return? Like,
yes.
Yes.
Because we trust it to drive a car, fly a plane, tax.
But are you going to be the first person to do it?
Yes.
Are you going to be the first multinational that's going to go, I've automated all of my tax compliance?
Yeah.
Most of the tech multinationals.
The whole of Silicon Valley will adopt Stripe
I believe that too. And they're the companies I will be keeping an eye out for because they're the companies I want to spin into. But what I'm developing is almost an automated solution.
Well, you better tell the future Silicon Valley companies where to find you because you have a very simple and very clever name because the company name is
RndTaxCredits.ie.
Because you told me that was what you do.
Yeah, why?
And it's the
why
or and the word and the letter D credits.ie.
Tax credits.
Tax credits, sorry. And it is Conall Noon with an E.
That's it.
Conall, thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show. And that is it from That Great Business Show, episode 41. As always, my thanks to the team here at Dublin South FM Podcast Studios, Dublin's best podcast studios. Sound engineer Alison O'Dwyer is already submitting her R&D claim for her innovative use of studio microphones, and our colleague Peter Rice has a patent pending on his secret formula for making us the world's best-sounding podcast. Today's Gurav Mahagats go to my old buddy and one of the most recent people in the creative, one of the most decent, did I say recent, most decent people in the creative industries, Ray Sheeran, who introduced me to Jill Holtz. Continuously promoting That Great Business Show, as I mentioned to him on social media, meant we had to have John O'Connell on. I read about Neil Skeffington in the Sunday Business Post, I think, and tech business advisor Maeve Neefsey recommended Conall Noon to us, which all goes to show that there are many, many, many ways to join TeamGBS. All you have to do is ask. Visit our website, thatgreatbusinessshow.com, where you can share your story with us. We're in business, so if you're in business, why not tell others about it by advertising on the only business podcast that does business differently. Do also follow us on our LinkedIn page, where we have some bonus material, including our sneak peek every week. Finally, my thanks to our sponsor, DeFactoShave.com, the world's best shaving oil. Try it for a week, and like me, you will be a forever convert. So from me, Conall Morain, until next week, Slán Tunnel.